What's the point?
Alrighty, wow.
Kick this pig off. He's had enough.
Yeah.
He's done.
No, I didn't say he was wrong.
He knows.
This episode is made possible by our third partners, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett.
Pickett!
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now, broadcasting from the churn, that's Dr. Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
And with us today is Pod Jeopardy World Champion and designated winner of the Pod Therapy Fantasy Football League, Slurpie Kaye, motherfucker.
Heyo.
Hi, Slurpie. Thank you for supporting the show all these years. Thank you for joining us here today. How are you enjoying Vegas so far?
Good.
You were telling me before we started the show that you've checked out some performances this year. What have you seen?
I saw Penn and Teller for the first time.
Both of them. Terrible. Washed up.
Because they were dark last Scoop Fest, so I didn't get to see them then. Yeah. Last night I saw Absinthe again. I saw that last year or 2 years ago.
Okay.
I
genuinely just almost asked if I was there.
I don't know. I tried looking.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
No. If
Jacob doesn't remember
this question.
yeah.
where he was.
I made a friend there.
Good.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right, we'll protect their identity. Go ahead.
No, but no, it was it was like a Monday night, so like my seats just got moved up to like the second row.
Okay.
And there was just this woman there, I don't know, maybe 40-ish, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Instantly, like hitting on me.
Really?
Yeah. And she was in Dura Cups, I would say.
Okay.
In fact, she may or may not have been one of the people who did the get selected for the lap dance.
You have
competition.
audience plants? Is that what that is?
No.
That's not audience play.
Oh, she just happened to be picked.
They basically choose like who'll do whatever
Okay.
for free drinks.
Uninhibited people.
So yeah. So anyways, she's and I'm like, oh okay. I just talk like I do it to everybody.
Yeah.
Like I'm the same way I would talk to somebody sitting next to
Right.
me at a bus stop, and then about like 15 minutes of show's about to start, and then she's like, "Oh, here comes my husband," and he's really into his cups. He comes sitting next.
Into
So
his
she's in the
cups.
middle. She's in the middle of us. She introduces us and me and him, and he's kind of being a little bit weird, but yeah, and
They proposition you.
Yeah, so the threesome was good.
This is exactly
Yeah.
where I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
we all know where it's
We
going,
always go.
Slurpee. We've lived
Just
here
say
for a
it.
while.
Just say it.
Yeah.
The surprising thing is they didn't, but
Okay.
here's why.
Okay.
Aw.
No, I was like, no.
Were
I
you
was,
offended?
Surprisingly upsetting.
Yeah.
Of course,
Like,
yeah,
come on,
of
guys.
course.
I've been unbuttoning this shirt now
I was
for a
just
while.
I was really just like waiting. Like,
Yeah, of
I
course.
was really just like, all right, can we just
Any
get this
second
over? I want to
now.
go
Yeah.
watch the show. But then,
Can we please go fuck in the bathroom?
yeah,
I don't want to miss my favorite part.
no, but he was. So this guy was like, there was like, it was probably like halfway during the show. There was like one solo act with like a male acrobat who just solo doing like sexy like whatever thing on the ropes and stuff.
Great.
And he was just, all I hear is him mumble something like drunkenly. Blah, blah, blah. The quietest they've been the whole show. They've been the loudest people. They're heckling. They're like going nuts. And then now I'm just kind of embarrassed. So I kind of tried stopping.
I don't know
Like
them.
I was just like, oh, I don't want to be associated with you guys.
Yeah.
And so, but then like, he like mumbled something, and then she stopped, and they were quiet for like 5 minutes. And I was
Okay.
like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And then all I hear her say is like, oh no, I just really like the song. That's why I was like
He's
yelling.
pissed that she's
She was
like interested.
Yeah. I'm just like,
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
great.
oh, so gross.
Did you lean over and explain to him that you'd already had sex with her before he got there?
I hit that earlier.
Yeah, buddy, I got bad news.
That was just-
She's not
yeah.
going to have sex with that guy.
you don't
I
like
already hit it.
If you don't like your wife having sex with people, you're gonna be really pissed about what we're doing right now.
yeah.
I'm speaking to you from
Turn away.
inside your wife.
Turn away.
She brought this whole blanket over here. I don't even know why they sell it at the gift shop, except for having sex.
I am speaking to you from inside your wife. I am speaking to you from inside your wife.
The calls
You
are
don't
coming.
have to say it twice. I didn't.
Oh, there it is.
That's your wife.
The echo. Wow. So a very eventful
fun
night
time.
in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So a couple of great shows.
Yeah.
No, you've been to Vegas before.
Yeah.
What, of all the shows you've ever seen in Vegas, what would you say is number one? Don't just say absinthe because Jacob's pointing that gun at you.
No,
it's not
absinthe
loaded.
Absinthe is really good.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
It's very good.
That seems to be the consensus. Everybody I ever talked to, unless they specifically came here for a performer, and they're like, oh, well, Donny Osmond, because I'm a huge Donny Osmond. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But it's always absinthe. So
Yeah. I've recommended absinthe to
I've never
so many
fucking
people.
seen it.
But I'm always careful about like who I recommend it to.
Oh yeah.
Because it's so racy and people have sex in the stands?
No, because because everybody's propositioned,
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
When
like
Slurpee's there.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Everywhere Slurpee
I have
goes,
to say,
God damn it.
I've seen the show 8 times. That's never happened.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, you going to keep those pants on? This is an IHOP. Like, I just want muffins. Okay, yeah. It's a very sexy, very scandalous show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
One of these days.
But it's funny because I was just talking to somebody about this, and they were asking me about different shows, and I had recommended Piff.
Okay. Oh, great show. Yeah.
Went to Piff, loved it.
Yep.
Everything was great. And then he, it's like, oh, any other shows that you really like?
The Piff Absinthe crossover
It's not.
is very fringe.
Yeah.
That Venn touches, but not for everybody.
And so I described Absinthe. I said, that's my favorite show, but I don't recommend it to everybody. I went with my sister when she was in town. We went to Absinthe.
Wow.
I would not go with my mom.
Okay.
I would not go with my dad. I would not get
Yeah.
You don't
certain
want to have
people.
them invite a third person.
Yeah.
I'll go with Nick's parents.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'll
And
sit,
I would be
I'll
fine
sit
with
between
that.
them.
Yeah. So it's Slurpee.
I'll hold both of their hands.
Fine.
Yeah.
Have any of y'all seen Carrot Top?
I did.
Not yet.
I
Is
did.
it good?
When I got married in 2006, I saw Carrot Top.
He's been around forever,
The
and I've
answer is
only
Absolutely still
Yes,
here.
he's good.
I've only heard good things.
Yeah, he's good.
So I bought
It is
tickets.
reliable. Yeah, you're going to go see it soon?
Yeah, like around Thanksgiving.
It still
Yeah.
holds. It's great. It's
what I
prop
hear.
comedy. It's a good time.
It's just comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a comic that uses props for
Okay.
some of his jokes. But I mean, he's writing new material all the time.
Okay.
It's just like any other comedian. Like it turns out, whether you use props or not, you have to be a pretty funny comedian to run a showroom for
God,
over a decade.
What's his run now? It's
way over a decade.
Well,
Yeah.
I saw him in 6. I mean, I've been
In
married
6.
17 years. So, and he was
so
1906.
it wasn't hot and
6.
fresh in 2006. It was
Yeah.
like he had already been there forever by 2006.
I'm
God,
just
I
there to
wonder
see
how
his plastic surgery up close.
Oh yeah. He's taking good care of himself. He's actually ripped too. He's a really buff guy. But it's crazy because that guy got famous from telephone commercials. Remember that?
No.
The 1-800
There's
collect
Jim's memory.
commercial.
Yeah, he was definitely already famous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
vaguely, dude. I don't think he was
Yes,
like
he was.
national. Come on.
Yes, he was famous before
Why
his
do you
show
think they
here.
hired him to do the commercials?
I've never even seen his stand-up special or any of
Great.
his comedy
Why
work.
do you think they hired him to do the commercials?
I've
are
never
nobodies for
in my
commercials.
life
All
heard
right.
somebody say Carrot Top.
There was-
the 1-800 collect guy.
Really? That's the number one thing I know him from.
Oh my god!
That's
I
where you
remember-
know him from.
Tonight Show, like Letterman, that's where
Yeah.
I first came across and was on the late night shows.
Okay, so he's just a performing comic.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
He's just a successful commedia.
I think that he achieved national
And occasionally-
notoriety
And occasionally he did like
from a
some
very
national commercial
popular
spots.
ad
That's like
campaign.
Ryan Reynolds and his mint commercials.
Yeah.
That's how we got famous.
Yeah, he got famous. too.
Everybody knows. You mean the guy who owns that soccer team?
Yeah,
It's the only thing I know
it's the
him
only
from.
thing.
I feel like there are people that just got famous from their commercials, or were partially
There
famous
definitely
before
are.
that. I
There's
think
like
he's
the
one of
Flo,
them.
like the progressive
Yeah,
lady.
Like, you know
and,
about her now.
Yeah, like the caveman from the
yeah.
Geico ads.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh! Yeah.
Lily, AT&T.
Sure.
Who?
So
Who?
We're too
the-
young
the
for this.
AT&T. No, she still does it.
What?
The
She's
AT&T
the-
girl.
She's the on all the AT&T ads. She's the
Yeah.
person like running the
She's the
shop.
flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's
Just
done
their flow.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Got it.
Yeah. So she's done a couple like TV shows now and stuff, and she like produces movies and shit.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Like she's got
Wow.
her hands in a lot of stuff.
I'll bet she does.
But no, mostly it goes fame first, then national commercial.
Look, I'm not saying he was unheard of, but I'm saying he became a household name
Through
because-
1-800 collect commercials.
Yes,
Nah.
that's
No.
how I fucking
Nah.
learned about him.
Yeah, but this is the thing that you need to learn at some point.
Yeah.
Is that your experience is
No.
not everyone's
I
experience.
am America. Okay, I am John Q. Public. My experience is American
You're trying
experience.
to say Jim's self-centered.
No, the world revolves
I'm
around.
not
me.
trying to
Not
say it.
self-centered,
Successfully saying
globally
it.
centered. We've got some great questions today, but
I
before
do
we
have a
dive
gift
in,
for you.
you have a gift for me?
I do. Not me personally.
Oh, that is for me, but you're handing it to me.
Yes. Michael Elsroth
Oh, I love
was
that
out
guy.
doing some shopping,
Okay.
thinking about your mom,
As most
As-
people do when they're
well,
shopping in Las
as-
Vegas.
Very
I
erect.
do.
as Michael Elsroth definitely does.
Very erect.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and he came across this and thought,
right.
this is for you.
All right, I'm receiving the package. And what even is this? It's a bat
So,
thing? What is that?
okay. So it's one of those things,
my
I
God.
believe you take it out, you twist it, and then you stuff it in an envelope, and then when you open
Oh.
it, it flies out.
Oh, yeah, there's like a whole grip of these. Oh, my kids are going to love these.
Yes, and I was actually going to do that, but then I forgot to bring an envelope. So I'm sorry,
Oh, that's
Michael, if this
super
does not have the
cool.
effect that shut up.
So it's like the snake eggs thing. It's like you wind
What
up
an
the bat
asshole.
and you put it in an envelope, and then you open the envelope and it goes,
Yes,
and then you pull it out and it's
yes.
a bat.
Yes,
Man, that literally could have been a entire
Yeah.
audio gag.
could have been.
Could have been a good bit.
Wow.
But you know what,
Great job, Mike.
Michael, you handled it to the wrong guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should have. You give that shit to Jacob.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Moral of the story. If there's any delivery to the gift,
In fairness to Elsroth, he initially gave it to me.
you handed it.
Oh,
And then I set
no.
it down on the table where I was going to pick it up later. And then I think he was like, "Oh, I bet Nick will reliably get this
Okay.
done."
Okay. No. So he was right. You fucked it up.
No,
His first instinct was to give it to me,
Yeah.
and then I think he changed his mind, or you saw it and asked him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you can take that."
In fairness, those are both true. Like I actually would trust Nick to be more reliable about getting it to where it needs to be,
And he did.
and fucking worthless in the joke part.
Amen.
So this is where there needs to be a team spirit.
I know my role.
Yeah. Well,
true.
great job, everybody. If you'd like to hear more about our histories of pornography, patreon.com/therapy. You can
Yeah.
discover Whitney's entire deep, dark past
I go in
and
depth.
where she discovered
How much
and lost
money she made doing
her
it.
Texas purity.
Oh, is that what we're
So-
talking about?
Well,
yeah.
you already know my strip club story.
I
That's
do.
Right. That's a
And
different.
story time.
That's a different Patreon.
I've thrown my phone across the room. I don't care anymore about the questions.
No, we're saving that one.
That's next week.
We're gonna save that for sweeps week.
The sweeps.
Yeah.
All right. Well, patreon.com/therapy. Hear about the rest of it. But we've got some great questions this week. Also, oh man, we didn't get a chance to talk about this. I discovered Crocs.
Oh my god.
I'm wearing them right now.
Let me see.
Bam, baby! Yeah! Camo Crocs!
Why camo?
You like those bad
Why
boys?
camo?
Why do they smell so bad though?
That's what my feet just smell like.
They're antimicrobial, so they
That's
definitely don't
sepsis.
smell.
That's what that is. Yeah, I went on a camping trip and
adorable that you
I
think
didn't have
that.
any closed-toed shoes and I needed them as I just brought sandals. So I drove down to the dollar store and I got these things. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to try these Crocs.
Wait,
And
why
they
did you
are
need closed-toed
amazing.
shoes for camping?
To do some landscaping on the camping trip.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, dollar store Crocs are not Crocs.
What the fuck? Why can't it be a Croc?
What she?
Are
What
you a
activity?
pretentious Crocker? It's got to be like name
Let me see
brand.
that
What-
shoe.
what
Give me-
activity-
it
I'm
probably
actually
does
happy
smell.
to hand it to
It
you.
probably does smell now.
It
Nick,
can't
you're right.
smell. It's
it does
just
look
an
like a
open
Croc.
thing.
It looks like a Croc.
That's a Croc. It's just,
No,
a frock.
Yeah.
I don't know what to go with
not a
that.
They
name
did okay.
brand.
They did
Yeah,
okay.
it's like a camo Croc.
I guess.
CROKS.
Yeah. It's a knockoff Croc.
A not
A
Croc.
Narok.
What type of intensive activity did you
Yeah.
need that like sandals weren't okay for, but
Yeah.
Crocs?
That's what I was.
It's an excellent
Knockoff
question.
Crocs. Knockoff
Where is
Crocs.
this line?
So
that-
we were camping at Lake Havasu. So there's like a sandy beach there on the side of the lake. So that's sandals. Like that's chill, no big deal. It's a beach camping trip. But then part of the deal is the park rangers let all the scouts camp for free if they will go do landscaping because there's this invasive plant species that's on the bank that's crowding out like the reeds and like the better plants.
Okay.
So the kids all get choppers and rakes and shovels and we go in there and we just rip apart all these bad plants and just truck them out, right? So for that part, they tell you, hey, get some closed-toed shoes because, we have shovels and rakes and chompers up here and
So
you're in the weeds.
They're steel-toed Crocs, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, these are workman crops. Yeah, exactly. That's what this is.
I see a lot of the NFL players now wearing the football.
The
cleat
football.
Crocs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the cleat Crocs. Yeah,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
turf. Yeah,
Yeah.
they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You are not a smart person.
They're great. I've resisted these things for years, and then I finally converted, and I'm never.
You
going
didn't
back.
convert. You
What are you talking
converted to the knockoff
The
brand.
knockoff
Why you gotta
Crocs.
shit on me?
You know
got
what?
this high road that you've suddenly found about what are pure Crocs? Jesus Christ!
Don't diss the name. Don't
Jesus!
diss the Crocs.
Do you have Crocs?
I have one pair of Crocs.
Okay.
Actually, okay, I have one pair of Crocs. They are
Girl, same.
from my high school. That's how long they've lasted. Black
There were
Crocs.
Crocs back then?
Yes, they were popular. Then they were ugly for a long time, and then the kids these days they brought them back. So I was like, "Well, let me bust them out."
It's funny that we're
Those
talking
are my
about
Doc
this
Martens
Damn.
from 8th
because
grade.
we were
I'm
just
still
out,
mad that I don't have my Doc Martens
Oh
anymore.
yeah, I
we
got
were
mine.
just out
Love
shopping
'em.
the other day, and there was a sale on
Crocs?
They had a whole rack of
Were you
them.
at the Bells?
No,
There's a Croc outlet store at the Bells.
no. This is like,
Whitney almost spits out her beer.
this is. I think we were at a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
The
where you
bells.
find Crocs.
Why?
Yeah.
But like, okay, so we were walking by, and I stop, and I'm like, Laura, I'm sorry, I gotta know what this craze is about.
Did you put them on?
And they're so
yeah.
comfortable.
What were your thoughts?
You know they are, even though they're ugly as hell. You know
Honestly,
you love
not a big fan.
them. What?
Bro.
Even Peter
No.
thinks they're disgusting,
Oh.
and he loves how they feel. He's like, I will never wear them, but they are very comfortable.
I have been shitting on this
didn't
shoe
feel
for
the
years.
comfort
Oh no.
for it for me.
It's great. Hey,
I don't know.
you want to put mine on?
no, don't
No.
do it.
You want to do
That's
it?
not a
I
real
definitely
croc.
My feet are
He's
dry and
tricking
clean.
you.
It's the
No,
desert.
I'm sure they are, but your feet, like, I
a
could
piece of
probably
this?
put my shoes. I can keep my shoes on and put those on.
You'd like these.
I don't think
they
so.
they are cozy. Like I
Okay,
listen,
so Croc has a cute sandal though. So when I
why would anybody
worked
do
at,
that?
because they're comfortable and I could wear them. They're like you can get them wet. You can wear them all over. Yeah.
So wait, they're just Crocs with less Crocs. That's a sandal.
yeah,
Yeah, that
just
seems like a
designed like a
rip off.
sandal.
That's dumb.
love them because they look cute, but then they're comfortable too.
Here's
But
one
can
here that
we-
has a Velcro back strap
Ooh.
that is a hiking croc.
Oh wow.
I can't.
It is. Check out the tread on those tires.
Yes, there's tread.
Dude, the tread is legit.
Why did they do that?
Why not?
Why?
It's a great
How
idea.
much sand and rocks are getting in
All
your
of
shoes?
the sand
it's
and
so
rocks.
bad.
Which
That's
was
what I wanna
exactly the
get.
pain in the
Yeah.
ass of wearing these, actually.
So,
Oh, you don't say.
yeah. Wearing them on the
Slurpie's
beach
shocked.
and doing landscaping.
Slurpie
Turned out
is
they weren't as
shocked.
great as I thought they were going to be.
Oh my god! Like calling you an idiot is just
No, there was a lot of
it's
debris.
so easy.
It was a lot of debris. It all got
A lot
in
of
there.
debris.
A lot more than I
He
thought would
toughened
happen.
up his feet a lot.
Yeah.
Lots of
I
calluses.
took some splinters. I got some war wounds on this one.
Okay,
Probably should have
so
worn shoes.
so I'm guessing this landscaping project that they were doing. This was a complete surprise to you.
No, I know. We do it every year.
Okay.
I've gone 3 times.
So explain to me how you got
I knew
there
this.
and you didn't have shoes.
well, okay. So I knew it was
Hey,
going to
do you know-
happen.
do you know what the Scout motto is?
Be prepared.
It is.
That's lovely.
modeling
the
behavior.
same as the
feel
Nazi
like we
lions in Lion King.
Yeah. Be
prepared.
prepared.
That's
And
it.
they were hyenas, by the way.
Whatever.
Yeah.
There was one lion. He was their leader.
Yes, Scar.
Yeah.
Don't lecture me about this movie. I was talking about the fucking video game 5 minutes ago. I take that shit seriously. Also, I can sing the entire song.
Go ahead.
Please don't.
Cool.
No.
I bet you
Do
can't.
this?
I know. I'm like, Jim knows he's got
Jacob,
a
Whitney,
partner.
Yeah, when you know, just shared a look of like, you got me right. Like,
You know all
do you want to do it? Do you want to just do the whole fucking thing? Because we can just fucking do it right now. Even the speaking parts. You
sure-
can be Whoopi Goldberg.
I'm sure that Jim can't do it.
Ooh, we got to get on to some questions, but we will
Okay.
come back to that.
Do we need to do the intro over again?
Nah, fuck it.
No.
We can
All
just
right.
do this.
Okay.
Go to patreon.com/therapy and things are about porn. Okay, first question. Fearful and disconnected. Hi, everyone. Hoping y'all are having a good day so far. So, fair warning, I got a little triggered in a recent episode you had discussing conspiracy theories. So, apologies if I come in a little hot with my question.
Uh-oh.
I try to love my friends and people for being their authentic selves, which includes their flaws,
There's your
mistakes,
problem.
and even their ideas and beliefs that I don't share. I don't think people are their ideas and beliefs, and instead of putting myself on an intellectual pedestal, I try to be curious about what they are saying or believing and understand why they are saying or believing it. I don't have to agree with them, and if I really wanted to challenge them, I find that a good-natured conversation with challenging questions eventually exposes where all our knowledge gaps are. I truly think that making space for people to be where they are right now and meeting them there is better than writing people off because they aren't at your level, especially if you ever want people to actually be at your perceived level. It feels like people more than ever are just putting each other in boxes based on our generic assumptions and kicking them out of their lives. In the conspiracy theory episode, I felt like this person was quick to be judged and have broad stroke judgments made about them. It seemed like because this person had those beliefs, it invalidated the rest of him and potentially even that relationship. I'm not saying that was wrong, but that it triggered a fear I have of people doing the same to me. I feel really, really alone. Lonely and disconnected from people and my friends. I feel like it's partly because I don't share a lot of the same beliefs and thoughts that others do, and I don't feel safe expressing them. If you believe X, then you must be Y, and therefore I don't want you as a friend. If I did that to all my friends, I wouldn't have any. I don't need to express my thoughts, but I don't want to feel like I have to hide them either. How can I connect better to people and not feel alone? I like having friends with a diversity of opinions, but it seems very hard to find people that are okay having the same. Thanks for this podcast and all the love and care that you put into it. Anonymous.
All the love and care that we put into it most days.
Yeah.
Remind me.
Probably not today.
Remind me of this other email.
I can do
This-
it. Oh, you got
Go
it?
ahead. Well, this was sent in about a listener that
I mean, this is
Well, it was-
this is familiar to me.
Yes.
I remember this a little bit.
9/11.
Yeah.
9/11 conspiracy theorist.
Okay.
9/11 was an inside job.
Okay.
That found out that this friend believed that and was really upset by it.
That's
Didn't
right.
know.
Yeah,
And
it
we,
was
and we,
Smitty's
and we
letter.
like kind of launched into a whole conversation about conspiracy theories.
How that happens.
Smitty was
how-
like,
our
dude, you
theories
lived in
about it."
Virginia. Like, we had friends that died in this, and you still think it
That's
was an
right.
inside job. And so in that episode, we explored a lot of different angles, but one of the angles was it's okay to let go of that friendship. The writer's not saying we were wrong, but the writer's saying they often feel like they are the one let go of by other people for having diverse or different views. And the writer in this letter is saying, I'm okay with friendships of people that think very differently than me, but I often feel alone and discounted because I'll share with somebody that I have a belief and they'll assume something about me. And so we could like replace that with, they say, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. It's like,
Right.
oh, you're a racist. And it's
But-
like, well, no, I'm not.
So take me down the path of what happens. And I know that this writer is obviously not in the room.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use
Unless
the
it
four
was
of you
Slurpie.
as the surrogate here.
I never know.
Looking very suspicious.
Take me down the path and explain to me what happens if you express a view that your friends disagree with, because they don't then announce we are no longer friends.
No, but you can pick it up. You know, like
No,
if you
if
ever
they
thrown
disagree
something out
or if
there,
they think it's ridiculous or whatever,
Yeah.
you can pick that up. But that's not the end of a friendship necessarily.
I've seen situations where somebody will say something in like a passive way, assuming everybody might agree with them, and the air gets sucked out of the room.
Yeah.
I mean, when you express an opinion, you are inviting people to agree or disagree
Right.
with that opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
As someone who
writer.
expresses an opinion for a large part of my living,
Yes.
Yeah.
I know this to be very true.
But here's what's interesting, though. Sorry, go ahead. I'll jump in a second.
I was just gonna say, I think they're worried about other people not accepting that they have a different viewpoint. So you're right, Jacob. Like, you're inviting people in to criticize that. You know?
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I understand that, but I'm asking the path to the friendship ending. I am curious
does
as
that
to what
happen?
that path looks like.
Right.
I think the way I would describe it is you stop receiving text messages and phone calls to hang out.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I imagine.
You're
I almost
slowly
kind of imagine
And does
it like
that happen
ghosting.
immediately? Does that happen?
No.
Like if you say, I think 9/11's an inside job.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
now,
for some people it
I mean,
does.
I suppose
Yeah.
I suppose that's a big triggering one
I'll
for a
bet
lot
it's
of people.
pretty quick. Yeah, I'll bet it's something where like, okay, I'm just not available to hang out with you as
But
much.
let's say the Earth is flat. Mm-hmm. If I announce that the Earth is flat, that doesn't seem because 9/11 you could be talking to somebody who knew somebody that died or something like that. Like that you could
Yeah, so
really
take
hit home.
something non-emotional.
Yeah, that's it. So that's why I'm jumping over to flat Earth.
Yeah.
And so if you say the
Earth
Earth is
killed
flat,
my grandparents.
okay. So if we say the Earth is flat because we don't
monster.
care about Jim's grandparents.
Wow.
that grandma.
They were shot into
Fuck 'em.
orbit and they landed flat as a
And they
pancake.
hit the dome.
on another. They hit the fucking
Yeah, gravity doesn't exist.
right off the
Jim.
edge.
Yep.
Never to be heard from again.
I'm just very curious as to what that looks like to say you don't. This friendship is just gone now.
I think
And to be able to point that straight line back to I expressed this opinion, straight line from that to we are no longer friends.
Right.
No, that's a great point, Jacob. I think that if it's
Thank
something very it is good because like it is.
Thank you.
Yes, standing slow clap.
Wow, everyone's
We're
standing
Yeah.
and applauding.
I put on a tie for this.
I think if it's something big like flat Earth or 9/11 conspiracies, my opinion is that it is pretty sudden. You will experience that more
Right.
quickly. If it's something that is a little more nuanced, then in my opinion, what I've seen from different friend groups is that the person who continuously over time has expressed something that they don't feel like is a big deal, but maybe other people in the group do, then it is a slow burn. It is a slow disconnect. We are not going to invite you as often to things, or
and then you're texting behind their back and they're like, hey, you heard that, right? Like,
Or even
I heard
even
that.
things like, okay, yeah, Jim's my friend. I want to invite him to this get together that I'm having at my house, but I don't want him to jump into these 9/11 conspiracy theories.
That's a whole nother
So
thing.
maybe I don't really want to invite
How
Jim.
opinionated are
Right.
they about that?
Yeah.
But I mean, you could say the same thing though about like if Jim has, he took a painting class one time,
Now he won't shut up about
and
the
now he
painting
won't shut the
class.
fuck up about a painting class.
All right.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, he's always
Like that's
trying to
it.
bring
Like,
it up.
so if you are a person that is espousing these conspiracy theories at every opportunity,
Yeah.
ask yourself, if I replaced conspiracy theory with painting class,
Is it just an obnoxious topic?
that's, or like, I mean, any topic can be obnoxious.
Yeah.
If I just say, if I every single time we talk about how like, oh, you should really take a painting class, and then start telling you about how a painting class is so
or if
great.
you're into MLM and you're like, oh, have you heard about this air
a great
humidifier?
example.
Like, you should
Yeah.
really check it
I
out.
almost
What's
used
that?
that as an example,
Yeah.
but then I steered away from that because
That's controversial.
that's also a little controversial.
I think we can take anti-pyramid
pyramid
scheme.
scheme. Oh, okay.
I think we've taken
Okay.
an anti-pyramid scheme stance on the
No,
show.
of course, but I was just like, I bet some people are like triggered
Pretty sensitive.
by
It's like, God damn it, I'm in one
pyramid
right
scheme
now.
type things. Yeah.
That's fair. But this is good advice because the writer is saying, hey, I relate to the opposite in this as the person who's often the outcast. And what I'm hearing you offer as advice is, hey, maybe it isn't just you have some quirky opinion. Maybe just be socially conscious of how often you're talking about certain things.
Yeah.
Read the room. And if you feel like, you know what, this never seems to be received very well, maybe cycle through some other topics you're interested in and maybe don't lead with things that are off-putting.
Like a dear friend of mine, I mean, we are very close friends. We've been close friends for 20
Thanks,
years.
buddy. I care about you too.
And not you.
It's odd.
Maybe a few years ago, he was like, I've got a weird belief that I think you're going to think I'm real dumb for. And I was like, well, now
At least
I'm
he's
interested.
prefaced it.
my
He's like, I'm
opinion.
aware.
I was like, I'm ready to hear this.
Go on.
And he said that he thought that the moon landing had been faked. And that it had happened later. He said, he believed that people have been to the moon, but he thought the very first moon landing was faked.
Okay. Just to win against the Russians.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of reasons, but yes, that was on the list. And I believe I told him I thought that was dumb. And like we went into how much it takes to cover up any lie and whatever, and how many people were involved. But it doesn't matter. But I mean, we're still close friends.
Right.
As far as I know, he still believes that to be true.
So here's an example that I've seen in
But
very
like that doesn't touch me. Like
Right. That
whether
issue
people
doesn't
landed on
hurt.
the moon or
Right.
not. Like
right.
I don't know
Other
anybody who
topics-
died trying to land on the moon.
So like right now in current events, obviously there's this terrible conflict happening between Israel and Gaza, and it's a mess, and all
Sure.
these people are suffering. So this is an example of one where I will bump into this, and just doing therapy, some people will say, like, it's one of those moments where I keep waiting to see if they're going to add more context because I don't know where they're at. Like they'll be talking, they'll be like, oh, I've been really affected by what's going on in Israel and Gaza. And I'm going to wait a beat and be like, yeah, that's been a real mess. How do you feel about that? And like, I'm still waiting to see which side they go on, because I've had some people go, I mean, they just don't understand. A lot of people are out there telling about the Palestinians are innocent and blah, blah, blah. They don't understand what the Israelis have gone through and blah, blah, blah. And like, or they're like, my history, my family heritage is this culture, and we're tired of being attacked, and I don't feel safe in the streets. And, what we're seeing online is scaring us. And like, our children, are they safe in America? Hamas says they're going to attack us over the world. And like, okay, Like I'm waiting for those details to see which side of this you're on, because I've also heard the other side where they're like, oh my goodness, like thousands and thousands of children are being murdered in the streets. Like there's 2 million people being trapped in this city and the water's cut off and they have no supplies and they're not allowed to leave. This is inhuman. It's a war crime. And so like I never know which side it's going to go on, but I can totally see how a group of friends.
Before you write in, I'm not going to use that as the new Jim drop.
Thank you.
I'm not going to do it, everybody.
Let's not do it.
So don't ask.
Not going to be useful. But there's a perfect example. Yeah, Nick will pull it. It's a perfect example of how this kind of stuff can just pop up organically, and you could share an opinion and have that feel reprehensible to another party.
Yes.
Whereas like the moon landing, I get it. Like at this point, it's innocuous. But like that Gaza thing, if you're on the opposite side of your friend and you're like, you believe the propaganda? That's not how it is. The media wants you to believe X, Y, and Z. Okay, there's now conspiratorial talk, which is not the point of this person's letter, by the way. I don't want to get too deep into conspiracy. Their point is, when I have a point of view that apparently makes other people itchy, it's causing me to lose friendships. That's frustrating because I don't like being franchised as a type of person for having some specific beliefs.
And that's
how do I do
fair.
better in relationships?
And that is a super fair concern.
So I'm trying to relate to the writer. I've got a lot of thoughts on this one, but I'll start first.
Mostly anti-Semitic thoughts, right?
I'll start first with like how I relate to the writer.
Yeah.
Right. Because I'm trying to think of examples of opinions or beliefs that I have that I keep to myself.
I can help you with this.
That I don't.
You want me to give you a list of obnoxious beliefs you've had over the course of our friendship?
Is it about crystals? Just kidding.
I have an idea, but now I want to hear yours.
Can you guess some of them?
No. What?
CrossFit. Let's go back to when you were into CrossFit. You would not shut the fuck up about it. Every day I had to hear about CrossFit.
Let's go
Isn't that
10
part of-
minutes back and about your Crocs.
No. Slurpie, fuck you. Get out. This is about Nick.
But that's part of being.
You went through a phase.
That is. Once you're in
that's
CrossFit,
like-
you must
that's part
talk about.
You must proselytize
Yeah,
CrossFit.
right. That's just I do what everybody does. That's a terrible example. But anyway.
Oh, sorry.
No, but I'm thinking like there's times where I'm golf. Like I play a lot of
do you
golf, and
play golf?
I get paired up with a lot of different people. You're with these people for the next 4 hours in very close quarters. Conversation goes wild sometimes.
Yeah.
And when it gets into politics,
That's got to be interesting.
I turn off. Like because like I'm here to play golf, and if I have my political beliefs and you've got yours, I don't want to talk about them right now.
Right.
Like I want to play, I want to focus on my game. I want to focus on why I'm out here. And so like, I get that sense of like somebody says something and I really want to say something back, but then I'm like, God, I just don't want to have this conversation.
Right.
So I kind of get that from that perspective. It's not so much about being judged. Maybe it is a little bit, but it's more about just picking and choosing what I choose to spend my energy on.
Yeah. Do you do the same thing with what you choose to speak on? Because the author of
so
this...
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of just
Kind of
other
discretion.
beliefs or other things that I have, that I am concerned about being judged for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm kind of struggling.
I
I'm
mean,
struggling thinking of examples.
I've had to come up with a lot of neutrality, because and like Whitney, in your practice, you might be the same, where I do not advertise any of my political beliefs or things like that. Like, because again, I don't want it to in any way interfere with treatment. I'm here to do a job. And if somebody says, oh man, can you believe how this political party's behaving? I have to be careful because, I may really disagree with them, but instead of being like, what? That's not true. Like, obviously I care about them. So I'm like, yeah, wow. That's pretty frustrating. Or I'll usually pretend I don't even know what they're talking about. So I'll be like, oh my God, that's as feeble and senile as Biden. And I'll be like, huh, yeah, he's getting pretty old, huh? And like, yeah, did you see what he did the other day? No, I didn't. Like, and even if I did, I just, whatever. I'm just trying to get them to like talk. I choose to be very discreet with putting out strong opinions about anything. But obviously that's in a clinical sense.
But yeah, and that's because of your job.
And it sucks
right?
because like if you're in friendships, I guess you'd want to be candid in your friendships. You'd want to be known and know others.
But here's the thing. So this is why I'm really struggling answering this question, because it's way too nuanced.
Yeah.
Because I can think of examples on one extreme where I'm like, yeah, I totally agree. When somebody says something about a belief, we automatically make assumptions.
Right.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't do that. We should
Right.
have a conversation. We should try to explore, try to do this. However, on the other side, I also see that that's human nature.
Right. No.
to group.
We
with
can't not do that. So if you say something about like, oh, you know what, I really enjoy going to the beach for vacations, I'm automatically making other assumptions. Okay, about not just your vacation habits, but other things that you like to do around what other hobbies you're interested in.
You might also
baby
be
seals.
interested in other outdoors activities.
Exactly. I'm not. I don't automatically
Like burning
think,
crosses
oh,
on
I'll
lawns.
bet you like to ice skate.
Right.
Like I don't make those connections. I make like, oh, I wonder if they surf. Oh, I wonder if they
Wear
enjoy. Yeah, you know. So
Probably not.
We are a beach faring people.
So I don't think
I bought
it's-
these for the beach.
I don't think it's completely avoidable. I think we automatically do it. I think we should be more mindful about doing that. But I don't think it's something that we can expect us not to do.
Yeah.
I push back a little bit on that.
All right.
Yeah,
Because
get him.
when you tell me something about yourself, I'm painting a picture of you in my head. I'm painting the picture of Nick anytime we're together, you know, and the more we're together, the more detailed that picture becomes. But when you tell me something about yourself, it goes into that file. Like that becomes now part of what I know about you.
That's a really good point.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
I do
But
think
I'm
that
saying,
there's...
I'm saying we don't. I don't think we have to be careful about avoiding that, though.
No, but
I think that's just a natural part of, and I think that's a fair part of what happens. If you tell me something about yourself, and there are some things that are going to be more innocuous than others.
I think we have to be careful with the extremes.
Okay,
Right.
So
those are
that's what I'm
obvious.
talking about. I'm talking about things like, automatic, like when Jim brought up the example about, oh, this person voted for Trump, they're a racist.
Okay,
Right.
Like, I think that's probably
that's
a
a-
pretty broad stroke.
that's a broad stroke with an assumption.
Yes.
with a major assumption tied to it. But let's get away from that, just because that's kind of a weird one. Now, like you'd say, this person voted for Trump. I very much disagree with a lot of the platforms that Donald Trump has and had. And so here are my issues with that. And you might spur on a conversation from that. But I think if you make assumptions about a person based on a piece of knowledge, those assumptions can be incorrect or correct.
Right.
And you got to be careful when you're making assumptions about anything. But now if you tell me the Holocaust didn't happen,
Sure.
well, now I've got some information about you, and we're into like anti-Semitism. We're
Right.
into a
I'm
lot of
starting
other
to draw
things
some
now.
more conclusions.
And now I'm getting a lot more comfortable making some
Educated
pretty
guesses.
nasty
Yeah.
assumptions about some of your other beliefs.
Sure.
So, Whitney, how do you conceal your horrific, inhumane beliefs in order to have friendships?
It's really tough, you know. I have to work hard at that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is something that I will occasionally bring up in sessions with clients. I don't share advice like almost ever, but if it comes up naturally when we're discussing something, I usually encourage or like I will praise even clients who reach out and actually discuss differences with their friends. Or I know we've talked about this on the show before. It's something for me I think is important, but sharing with why you don't want to be friends with somebody anymore and giving them some closure.
That's bold.
I have a client who's in college right now and she's like dating, but talking about when she chooses to not continue to date a guy. She said just recently she told them,
She gives
like,
them a
hey,
breakup interview?
interview?
Exit interview? You know.
I guess
explain
more like
why-
just like, hey, I don't think it's working out. We're not, I don't feel like there's a connection there. She's very kind about it, but
I've
she
taken
said,
some notes.
Yeah.
but she said the
I
guy
prepared this
like
PowerPoint.
responded to her and was like, "Thank you for telling me." Like, I guess that doesn't happen very often. I was like,
Yeah, you just
"Oh my
get
god,
ghosted.
hell yeah, So she's like working on herself. But anyway, I usually try and praise that and encourage that because I would love for there to be a world where we could share, differing beliefs or end friendships or relationships in like a kind and respectful manner. And I think the world today is so scared to confront another person because we build up what that is going to look like in our mind that we avoid and I wish we could like find ways to encourage or promote like healthy differences. So for this person, they said they're lonely, they feel disconnected from people and friends, and they like having people around them that share different beliefs. This, I don't know if this matters or not. For me, I feel like this matters. Where do you live?
Sure.
My personal opinion is that living in Las Vegas has been amazing.
Right.
For
Very diverse.
being around diverse people, because you can go to the grocery store and see all kinds of humans there,
Right.
and so much more acceptance and I don't know, versus when I lived in Texas.
Right.
So
I've talked to people in other states, especially in the South, and they'll sometimes tell me like how it can feel very threatening because even in their workplaces, just everybody's holding hands on a particular topic and like backslapping about something like, right, we all agree. And they feel sort of like, wow, I really disagree with this. And I don't like that you guys are making fun of people like me, but that's the culture. That doesn't fly very often in Vegas. And I think part of it's because you might walk around spouting off like, we all agree with this, right? And really quickly you meet resistance.
yeah, Jacob will say no.
Yeah, like, no, I don't fit that mold. Which, Jacob, actually, I can imagine has happened to you. Because you're kind of like...
all the time.
You're a man's man. You do a lot of things with your hands. Like, you fit a certain, like, type. You drive a Ford truck.
Yeah.
Like, if people were just, like, meeting you, like, oh, this guy's, like, it's a man's man. He's, like,
like
cool
guns.
guy. Yeah, guns, pew, pew, And, yeah, he crosses over a bunch of different thresholds. But then they might say something like, kind of slightly chauvinistic or bigoted or sexist. And you might be like, yeah, okay, I don't know if you expected me to sort of like nod and laugh with you, but
Right.
I'm good. Like I don't really. Does that ever happen where you kind of like
suppose.
gently nudge back on somebody's like stereotypical perception?
Sure. Yeah.
I think that happens to a lot of people. So this kind of comes back to your point, Whitney, of like, how do we get better at relationships when we're worried that if people find out some of the thoughts we do have, they're just going to shove us aside?
Yeah. I encourage you, again, it's a balance, but if you feel comfortable in who you are with the opinions that you have, I don't think you should hide it from your friends. And if I acknowledge that might be really lonely sometimes, and I get that. But I really think you'll find your people eventually. Maybe that's too optimistic, and definitely I'm open to hearing feedback from any listeners out there on that. But my opinion is that whether it's through like Facebook groups or Meetup we've talked about on here,
Or a 4chan hate group.
just an echo chamber of all
There's
your
always
beliefs.
somebody.
No, but and this is why this is such a hard question to answer. And thank you for writing it in. I really appreciate this question, but it is really difficult to answer because I agree with everything Whitney said. And then I also kind of disagree too, in the sense that like, I do think that if I express my belief X and a bunch of people walk out of my life, and I express belief X again and a bunch of other people walk out of my life, and this happens over and over, I should take a look at what X is.
I have to learn from that.
Because
You can
because like
evaluate.
if belief X is white supremacy and I'm upset that all these people are walking out of my life, then maybe I should reevaluate this piece. But again, like that, but then like if it's not, if belief X is, you know what, I prefer watching college football over the NFL. And people keep walking out of my life. Well, then maybe now it's a different story.
Maybe it's okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think this is why it's such a difficult question to answer, because this is such a broad spectrum of what we're dealing with, and there's so much information.
And it's also like, how are you presenting these beliefs? Are you presenting these beliefs in an argumentative way that could also be pushing people away? Not an argument, confrontational,
strong way.
Yeah.
Are you really approaching others curiously? Are you? And because there's one thing to be curious about other people's beliefs, it's another to be humble and hold loosely your own beliefs.
Right.
That when you present them, you say them in a way that invites that it's okay to talk about this with me, and I'm not defensive about it, and this isn't the hill I'm going to die on. And I think that makes people much more comfortable.
And you can even present it in a way, and I do this often. You can present it in a way where it's like, hey, I'm just telling you what I think about this. And you present it in such a manner of like, we don't have to have a conversation about this.
Right. I'm just
putting
it out
like,
there.
We're having this conversation, and it seems appropriate to let you know what my belief is on this topic right now.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sway your opinion, and don't bother trying to sway my opinion.
Yeah, sometimes you're just sharing like, well, I've concluded this.
Yeah, here's what I think.
Right.
I feel like I had a discussion with a friend of mine who has strong opinions on things like the police force and houselessness in Las Vegas. And they would present those, let's say, again, like on a platform, a social media platform, and our mutual friends were like, that's annoying to me. So they'd unfollow her or like whatever. So then she would be like, well, they don't follow me anymore. And so discussing that with her, she felt hurt by that decision, but would not reach out, which was fair. Whereas like myself, I kind of like the writer. I love hearing people's differing opinions. I don't know. I don't stand super strongly on very many topics, I love hearing other people's perspectives and I love hearing it. So she and I get along really well because she isn't like that in person. But your social media presence apparently matters a lot. And I know other people who, especially when Trump was like running the first time, oh my gosh, 13 posts a day. And I was like, what the hell? And then I'd be around them. They wouldn't say a word. And I was like, wait,
but they're an internet
how strong
warrior,
are you on that? It's very confusing. Yeah. So there's that aspect too. Like,
broken.
Are they watching your social media presence? Are they making assumptions based on those other things?
Right.
And sometimes you're just going to run into people who just don't want that surrounding their lives, like Nick at the golf course.
Right.
I don't want to listen to that while I'm playing golf. People don't want to scroll through that and see that on social media, so they might block you or whatever. But
Ryder, it's a minefield, and I know that we don't just have an obvious answer on this. I think we're wrestling with you on this topic. It's not easy, but I like that it's something that you continue to be somebody who is curious, who is open to other people's opinions. And, I think Nick and Whitney and Jacob all make really fine points about taking inventory about the way our opinions sound, taking inventory about our own cadence and our own presentation of things, making sure that we're giving the impression that we intend to give, and receiving that feedback. If other people find certain opinions of ours to be kind of caustic and a turnoff, okay, we can choose to not bring that up anymore. We can choose to bring it up and consequences be damned, but we're grown up and we know what we're doing. Or we can say, okay, I'm going to take this as feedback. I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to choose what I value. And if I value our friendship and it doesn't have to include this particular issue, I'm happy to leave that off the table. And I think there's lots of friendships that just choose not to bring it up.
yeah.
A lot of friendships survive, and a lot of family relationships survive
Mainly
by just
family.
having a blacklist, right?
Friends, I think you just don't talk to that
friends
person.
is whatever. But a lot of families survive by having a blacklist of topics that we just don't bring up.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving's fast approaching, so this is the thing we should be bringing up. But anyway, the thing you need to take away from this is that enjoying college football is the equivalent of white supremacy. Yeah. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about, has therapy become too political? You're listening to Pod Therapy. Wow, this lined up. Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben, Don, Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop,
Slurpie, motherfucker.
Slurpie,
and Sandra McWaffle. And if you want to become a producer, head on over to patreon.com/therapy and sign up. All right, trivia.
Let's do this shit.
Still working through Myra's bulk trivia. She sent me like 5 pages of trivia.
Thank you, Myra.
So here we go. In what country do more than half of people believe in elves?
Texas.
Country, yes, Texas.
Jim's answer is Texas.
Good job.
Country.
Yeah, Jim's answer is Texas. Boy.
The North Pole.
Oh, that's a good guess.
Pretty obvious.
Yeah, definitely not a country.
Obviously going to be like Ireland.
Yeah, you're not on a mic, Jim.
Yeah, Jim's just like in the room yelling now.
la.
Jim, you're still doing it. Shut the
He's
fuck
wondering. He's wandering
Okay,
around.
I think it's going to be, 2 points if you get it. Otherwise, we go to the options. I have an idea, but I'm waiting for the options.
All right,
yeah,
I want the third guess.
What?
Because we get to take a shot.
Yeah, now you're guessing first. You've already guessed Texas.
Fuck.
Shut up.
Yeah, you're out.
Okay, honestly, what was it, elves?
Yes.
I'm going to go with Ireland.
Okay.
Okay.
I got
for
one.
2 points. Excellent.
New Zealand.
Oh, shit, it probably is.
Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Fucking Lord of the Rings, that was
You
it.
want to guess or you're going to wait for the 1-pointers?
Oh, I'm waiting.
I am too.
I guess I'll wait.
Good move, because neither of those were even multiple.
I have a guess in my head.
That's
Ireland
not
is
fair.
Ireland is
No,
leprechauns.
they're blacked out until I highlight them.
Yeah, and Ireland
I
is
don't see
leprechauns.
race, so I wouldn't know.
Ireland's leprechaun. Norway.
Oh,
Russia, Holland, or Iceland?
God
Norway
damn
Norway
it.
was what I was going to
Norway
guess.
was going to be my guess.
No way! That was
Yeah.
going to be my guess. Norway!
Mm.
And I was like, I'm going to wait and see
Dirty,
if it's on the
dirty,
list.
dirty,
So
dirty.
Norway's my guess.
What is it? Norway,
I didn't even
Iceland,
hear the other ones.
Russia,
Iceland was my
or
second
Holland.
guess.
Yeah, I'll go Iceland.
Jacob gets it. It's Iceland.
Nice.
Damn it.
Okay.
Slurpee and I
So
got fucked
not
good on that
Ireland.
one.
That's in North Dakota, right?
Yeah,
Iceland. Yeah.
Iceland,
next to it,
New
next door.
Zealand.
That was right.
In the interest of time, we're just going to do one.
Okay.
All right, so I'm off to a stunning lead. Has therapy become too political? From Tonka Truck the Pony. Oh, so many. When did you finally feel? Oh, this. So okay, wait.
What?
To contextualize this question, we went on the Discord to create a bank episode, and we asked, "Do you have any questions about our profession in general?" This person wrote. They wrote several questions. We answered some of their questions on the bank show, which will appear in the future. But this was their big question. It was so big but relevant that I actually turned it into a show question.
A two-parter.
So they are responding with, "Do you have any questions about our profession?" And they said, "Oh, so many. When did you finally feel competent? Like, oh yeah, I got this. Imposter syndrome is real. How did you choose your theoretical orientation? Or if you could do anything differently, what would it be? How do you view your self-disclosure and what is your stance on this? It seems so polarized." And the biggest one. I know you mentioned in a previous show something about the profession heading so strongly in a woke direction, as well as someone who wrote in about not feeling like they are fighting hard enough for social justice causes in a different episode. As a professional, how on earth do we navigate this? As someone with pretty middle-of-the-road views politically, and I love politics, I'm very involved at the local level and plan to run for local offices one day, my mind is super open and I agree with pieces of both sides. I get the general feeling our profession refuses to accept any views or thoughts that are not far left. And if you even entertain other ideas, or have a conflicting value, or even understand something at a deeper level versus what the media is portraying, you're attacked from all sides. Any counter experiences are labeled invalid. It feels like we're expected to be non-judgmental and multiculturally competent, but then if it doesn't align with the more liberal viewpoint, then it's null and void. For example, yes, I know people who have done this. Clinicians are terminating clients because they feel unable to work with them due to personal conflict, that they are pro-life, yet a pro-life therapist must work with pro-choice clients, and those even have made the difficult decision to terminate a pregnancy for any reason. Even things like today, seeing a post in a therapist group where a fellow therapist was torn apart for letting her white child dress as Moana from the movie Moana, about a Hawaiian girl, for Halloween. Speaking with multiple local officials, especially in the criminal justice system, this is very noticed by the outside world. It seems like it does a disservice to the profession, and especially the clients who need services. If the freaking state's attorney is telling me these things and sees so much of the mental health profession as this, that impacts policy. Having a practical view, though, or legit multicultural competence gets us hammered by colleagues. I don't even talk about anything controversial and have been nailed for a hint of not being in line while in doctoral classes, etc. All it has done is make me not want to participate in the therapy field. Seriously, any thoughts? I was actually going to write in a question on this. If you would prefer, if you prefer that, let me know, and I will. Our doctoral level internship has a requirement for social justice advocacy, which has to be approved first, and it's really bothering me. I'm all for so much of the change, but when we're told that writing hate mail to senators is an ideal thing to do, no fucking way. Absolutely not. No change comes of that shit. It is so frustrating, and it's majorly impacting how I can show up as a professional therapist. Professionally, not with clients. Those clients are cool. I like my group. All right, rant over. Again, that was from, what was the name? Tonka Truck the Pony.
Woo.
All over the place. So yes.
Yeah.
What do you think about the wokeness in the therapy field?
So this is something that there's a lot of interesting controversy about this, because on one hand, as a society, Western society, in this last decade, we have gone through, I think, a moral reawakening. And great. As a voter, I like that. As a citizen, I like that. I've personally, as a white cis male, been very convicted by those perspectives. And I know that I've been personally educated by listening to people that are voices of color, women, just being really careful with a lot of my assumptions. And sometimes it was really hard for me, to hear about privilege and things. And I thought, well, I'm a nice person. Why am I suddenly the banner of the bad guy? Like, I don't want to be a mascot for an evil empire or patriarchy. Like, that doesn't seem fair. But I think taken as a whole, I've learned a lot. But I can appreciate what the writer's saying, that in our institutions of training, our graduate schools or doctoral programs, not as much in the field, but definitely in the academy, there has really been this new emphasis on here is a particular value system. And we want all therapists to agree with these values, which, okay. But B, we think it's actually important for you to do therapy wanting your patient to get these values. That second part gets really itchy for me.
Yeah.
I could probably tolerate the first part. I went to a religious school for my master's, and they kind of came out and said, hey, we have particular values, and that's part of what we are here, and you picked this school, so you're going to have to deal with it. All right, whatever. Yeah, I could pick another school if I don't.
Go to chapel every Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going to go to chapel, and we're going to talk about how we hope God, makes the world a better place. Okay, cool. But they were also very careful to tell us these are forbidden from the therapy room, though. You do not bring these to your patient, because we're training you to be a professional, and that's not what professionals do. You can have these beliefs privately, and we hope you do. We hope we've influenced you. You will never impose these upon the patient. The big twist for me that Tonka Truck is talking about that I kind of agree with is I get worried that a new generation of therapists is being raised up that are being encouraged to bring a value system, even a value system I very much agree with. I really like this idea of social justice and diversity, equity, inclusion, but to take that and to impose that upon the patient such that we're trying to socially engineer them, that to me is unethical. I think that's dangerous. I don't think that's part of our treatment plan or what we're here to do. And I kind of agree with the writer that their experiences, they're seeing it at the school level. I've definitely seen it in the field as well. And it concerns me. I don't like it.
See, and I wonder if, and I think this is probably the case, where your training or education, your experience in graduate school is probably a little bit different than our
I was
experience.
just going to say
Probably.
that. The
Graduate school.
licensure matters.
Because we come from
'cause
the
of social
social work,
background.
yeah.
And so a lot of our training, and I never felt like, my political views, I lean left. But even like for me,
It's because you only wear one shoe.
I'm just kidding.
even for me, some of the stuff that, we talked about in graduate school, I was like, wow, okay, that seems a little extreme to me. But that was minimal, really. There wasn't a whole lot that really seemed very extreme. A lot of, and this is just my experience, and even though we're both social workers, our background or our where we went may have been different.
Yeah,
As
you
far
went a
as
macro
that.
route, you were saying.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stuff that we really focused on, it wasn't necessarily like, okay, here's what we believe. You need to believe this too, and you need to make sure that your patients believe this.
Right.
It was never brought up that way. It was brought up in a sense like we're working with many people from multiple backgrounds, and it's your responsibility to have some sort of understanding to where this person is coming from. Because if you sit down and you're meeting with this individual from a culture you're unfamiliar with, a lot of their perspective, their behaviors, their thoughts, the things that they share are going to seem very foreign and just very odd and strange to you. But it is your job to understand, where does that come from?
Right.
So it was brought up more in like a cultural competence way to be able to work with somebody and to be able to ask good questions to understand, and not necessarily to mold somebody into a particular belief. I don't know. That was my experience, but.
Yeah. So in grad school for social work, you could go two routes. It was like macro level or micro, which was direct practice. And my perspective was that macro level was more like not creating, is more like analyzing laws and like big level stuff, whereas micro is working one-on-one with a client for therapy or in group therapy, things like that. I don't recall having to do like, I mean, again, that's a doctoral program, they said, but any type of social justice like requirements. I guess I don't know what other
a lot of programs are doing it.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.
Well, and so something that's curious to me, I'd love to hear y'all's feedback on this, is I will see things on social media where they're like, therapists are trained nowadays to do X. So, for example,
You
when
guys
I saw,
do a lot of X.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, as we talked
Ecstasy.
about in the Patreon.
Yeah.
X.
That's how Whitney paid for college. Yeah.
I still didn't tell you the stripper story.
That costs extra, patrons.
Yeah.
You got to get to that therapy partner level.
And
Slurpee
sorry.
gets
the
to find out.
Mercedes level.
Yeah. Slurpee gets to hear about it at the bar. Nobody else.
So totally lost.
You were about to tell us your
no,
stripper
can I-
story.
Mercedes level.
Okay,
got her.
I'll jump in for a second if you don't mind, because you brought up a really good point. Like, so you went the micro route.
Yeah.
You were doing a lot of classes with like practical work, theory,
Yep.
stuff like that. In the macro level that I was doing, so one of the things that I did in my internship is I worked for a substance abuse treatment program. We would go down to Des Moines, to the state capitol, and we would meet with legislators because we needed to get laws passed in order to do things, because if you're running a nonprofit substance abuse treatment program and you're trying to raise money, good fucking luck.
Yeah.
Right. If you work for a foster care agency and you want to raise money, they fucking throw it at
Yeah.
you. Like,
Yeah.
you got so much money you can't even
It's
stack it.
it's the cancer thing. If you're
Exactly.
raising money for lung cancer, go fuck yourself.
Exactly.
If you're raising money for breast cancer,
All the money.
money is raining on
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
And so we're going and we're lobbying because we're like, okay, we need something. You got to help us out, And so we were involved in like social change from that perspective. We were also, we did my senior year, my graduate year, our student foundation did a drive for socks for homeless. So because like having fresh socks is like
Yeah,
huge,
big deal.
Yeah. If you don't have a home.
I think our macro level program, the professor worked really closely with the Innocence Project.
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
people wrongfully
Oh, yeah,
imprisoned,
sure.
which
Yeah.
was really fascinating. But
Yep.
okay, so I remembered what I was saying. Thanks, Nick. Thank you.
My job
I don't
is
have
done.
Jim's memory. So on social media, there was my very conservative friend had shared this, which she doesn't read the articles, so it drives me crazy that she shares stuff. But it was like
Jim brought up two different things before the show started tonight
Why you got to turn it on
that
me,
were just
dude?
wrong. And he was like, I guess I should have read the whole article.
I was open to being taught.
oh my god,
We also realize I'm very persuadable. It works both ways, though.
And also, and everything Jim was bringing up was very low stakes stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it was literally about stakes. but
Yeah.
Yum.
go on.
So one of the things she shared was like they're training therapists in school now to like talk kids into transitioning.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like furious reading that. I was like,
No,
first
they're
of all, what?
Yeah.
I have not heard that.
Right.
I what? And so misinformation like that, unless it's not, which I don't think it's not misinformation, like,
Right.
oh my gosh. So things are being shared like that, and I think that's perpetuating a lot. It's perpetuating
Right.
a lot of thoughts about what therapy is. And I think to some level there may be a bit more of the wokeness because therapists are becoming more accessible and they're putting themselves out there more, like on podcasts or
Right.
creating marketing through Instagram or whatever. So I think a lot of times they may be putting on kind of like a front to show like, look, I'm with
Right.
I'm
The
with
therapist
you.
reacts to this political speech and this topic. And
But the reality is, in therapy, you should be fucking neutral. Like,
Right.
you are there for your client.
Right.
That's point period blank. You can say like, I'm an ally. That's fine. Like
Sure.
this is a safe space. You can remind people it's a safe space, but that's it. Like you are being paid to help them.
Right.
Like,
And I fucking hate doing this, but I have to give Jim credit.
what?
I know.
Look me in the eyes when you do it.
No, I'm not. Definitely
slow.
not. I'm definitely
Say it
not. I'm going to
really
look
slow.
over here. No, but something that you said a few episodes ago when we were talking about working with someone that you disagree with, and it's like, well, the term that the phrase that I like, and I think it applies to anybody, is they deserve therapy too.
Yeah.
So no matter who that population is, okay, so if you are pro-life and somebody is pro-choice, well, they deserve therapy.
Yeah.
Everybody deserves therapy.
Right.
And that's something that, like, Whitney and I used to work with juvenile sex offenders.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
okay, well,
Very easy to just
yeah,
write them off.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, they deserve therapy too.
Right.
And so I agree, with this idea, that like, and this actually came up, I remember in one of my graduate classes, we were talking about it where one of my colleagues was saying that, like, her daughter was trying for many years to have a child and they just couldn't have a child. So she said, I just don't think that I could work with somebody that is pro-choice or that would have an abortion.
Okay, got it.
Because of their experience. And it's kind of like you can say, okay, that's good that you are aware of that.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's good that if that happens today, you can refer them.
yeah.
But your job's not done there.
Right.
You can't just, for the rest of your career, just say, nope, these people don't deserve my help.
Right.
These people do.
Right.
I think you owe it to those clients and you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your profession that if you recognize a weakness like that you work on that yourself.
I think
And then
that's
if that
the
means
key.
that you get into therapy and you address some of
work.
that, do the work so
Yeah.
that you can be a competent therapist for anybody who walks through the door.
I think
Or as close to that as you possibly can.
you owe it to the field and
Yeah.
to the work. But this to me, honestly, so I just launched this week a new series on Patreon. And those of you who aren't patrons, patreon.com/therapy. I know you always hear us chanting the stupid website and telling you to go, throw some money in the hat. But we've really committed. And in 2023, every Monday we release new content. And that content is usually kind of clinical or research oriented. It's very educational. But I've started a new series that just launched this week, and it's called The 7 Deadly Sins of Psychotherapy. And it's 7 areas of the profession that I'm very concerned about. And it is in-depth, analytical, research-based complaints and rants along with what needs to change. Does that appeal to everybody? Probably not. But there's a lot of people like this writer who are in grad school, that are interns, colleagues in the field. And if you're not already, on our Patreon, I would really ask you to consider it for a little while just to pick up on this series, because the second sin that I'm going to be talking about in 2 weeks on the Patreon is this discussion of values and position. And I believe that the reason this is happening, because I do agree with the writer, I do believe this is happening. I do believe it's a cultural thing. The writer also talked about how we as therapists are trained to be multiculturally competent.
Yeah.
But the writer's pointing out the hypocrisy that only is code for you need to learn about gay people.
Yes.
Nobody else.
Yes.
And that's a very interesting thing. I was talking to a therapist the other day who reached out to me and said, hey, you're like a Christian or whatever, right? And I was like, probably not whatever you think it is, but go ahead.
Yeah,
You have
go
a
on.
question?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, I actually want to consult with you for cultural competence. And I was very caught off guard. I was like, what do you mean? Like, is this a trick? Like, where are you going with this? And they said,
Do you work for the board?
right, you work for the board. And they were like, I don't know anything about like evangelical Christians. The culture I grew up in, that was considered an enemy group. We were very concerned about that group.
Wow.
I noticed that I have very distorted perceptions of that group. I have a perfectly nice patient who has told me that this is really important to them. I've realized I have a lot of blind spots can I just ask you some questions about this, and you could just give me the clinical short answers to it?
And tell me if I'm wrong. That seems like it's the entire job.
That was great. That was a huge thing for them to say, because they're realizing, I want to help this person. I don't know enough about their real beliefs. I only know whatever I heard.
Sure.
And so I'm really looking for truth. And they were like, can I just ask you some ballpark questions? And you can also not just answer this, because I could look it up online, but answer it with clinical language. Like, you could tell me why that's relevant. So we talked about basic things like, what is prayer? Who is this person praying to? Like, are they praying to God or Jesus? Can you kind of just disentangle that for me? It's like, okay, here's probably what they believe. And you might hear them use these words, and here's what that might mean to them. And here's why.
Where are they from? Here's some things that could matter with that. Yeah.
That could be relevant. But why was that interesting? Because this is what the writer's talking about. That's a human too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of humans that are Catholic, or that are Muslim, or that are conservative Republicans who voted for Trump and will vote for him again and think he did nothing wrong, or that are literally racist. And they deserve help too. Years ago, I got into a debate with Andrew Torres, host of Opening Arguments. And Andrew and I had a discussion about the Goldwater principle, and he took the opinion that therapists and psychology people should stand up and indict Trump and announce to the country that he's a crazy person and he shouldn't be president. And I explained to him, we have no business doing that for a ton of reasons. Yeah. But the argument I made that won the debate, and he ultimately conceded and said, you know what, you're actually right. Like, an hour into this, he was like, nope, you've won. You're right. Is whenever I told him, do you want people who you are afraid of to not come talk to me, or to come talk to me? Because if I get up there and go, Trump's a crazy person and all of his supporters are racist and crazy people too, and one of them has a rifle and plans on shooting a senator, you'd like that person to be cool with mental health, not think that mental health is the enemy, right? So I need to be nonpartisan outside of this and be available to that person. And when they come, I can't see them as a monster. I can't see them as, ooh, you're a basket of deplorables. Or, no, I need to be like, your name is Mike. Mike, tell me about your story. What's really going on? And I have to be really sensitive to that. And if I'm not culturally competent on what Mike really believes, I'm dangerous to Mike. And Mike, in this fictional case, could be dangerous to the world, right? And so Andrew was like, yep, that's it. I want that kind of guy to go to therapy. And if you have to stay nonpartisan to accomplish that, let's do it. But also, to this point, this is why therapists have to be culturally competent. And this is what the writer's talking about. When we talk about cultural competence, we mean black people, brown people, gay people. That's it. And it's all we're talking about. And that's woefully inadequate for the incredible spectrum of Homo sapiens. We need to learn about all sorts of types of people. And yeah, that could even be dominant groups, because they're going to show up too. And like, another thing we're going to talk about in the 7 Deadly Sins is, has psychotherapy actively started sabotaging males? Have we started seeing masculinity as a mental illness? That's a deep question. Mm-hmm. It ruffles a lot of feathers. But in a lot of ways, a lot of our colleagues describe masculinity as a mental illness itself. They want to treat it. We don't even ask each other, like, have you done any training in, like, male therapy approaches? No, why would I do that? I know men. Okay, let me replace men with
You're
black
all the
people.
same.
Right, like, have you done any therapy approaches in black people? Like, yes, that's very important. That's a demographic. Oh, but you don't just know a black guy, right? Like, so that's good enough. So, like, clearly cultural competence is important. Political views have no place in the therapy room. But we as professionals, as the writer's talking about, we do have to get really good at recognizing our value and position, our blind spots, our biases, our implicit biases. And I come back to this all the time. When I talk to students, I say, could you be Hitler's therapist? And if your answer to that's no, you're not ready. You're not ready to join the field, because I wouldn't trust you. Because if I have somebody in my life that needs help because they are depressed, suicidal, addicted to heroin, and they need help, and I need a professional, I don't want to have to go through my Rolodex and have to figure out which therapists are liberal, which therapists are black, which therapists are white. I want to send them to somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing and get some help.
So you're now working with students who are going to become full-time therapists.
Yeah.
When you ask them that question, how would you react to the response of, I only want to work with Hitler?
I exclusively want to work with Nazis.
Nick, you be Jim. Ask me.
Are you ready to be Hitler's therapist?
Yes! I am!
I
really am.
wrote my entire dissertation on this. This is all I want to do.
I've been waiting.
Ryder, this is a great question. And if you're not already I know you are because you wrote us on the
Kyle,
Discord.
yes.
Kyle, yes. Patreon.com/therapy. Check out the series. I really want to get feedback from students, interns, colleagues. I'm really serious about this. Something I'm working on for a long time. So if it's something you're interested in, I'd love your opinions on it. But we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss situationships.
Ooh.
You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dunn, Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cohen, the Thunder Cougar Falcon Scoop,
motherfucker.
and Sandra McWaffle. All right, join us at patreon.com/therapy.
Didn't we all agree that Whitney's stripper name, was it Cinnamon? No,
He just said it.
what was it?
It's Mercedes.
That was the stripper name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We've also not until this moment.
Jacob remembered something. So
We've
I'm
also
just
not
impressed
until
with
this
that.
moment said that Whitney's stripper name is Mercedes.
I don't
We had
think that's
Mercedes
it.
on a show a while ago.
Yeah, there was a Mercedes.
And then Whitney came on the show shortly thereafter.
Was
It's
that what it
episode
was?
273.
I just remembered. I forgot about that. I just remembered her hobo name.
I know, that's
Trixie
what I thought.
Switchcar?
Switch track.
Yeah, Trixie Switchtrack. That's also her fantasy football
Yeah.
name.
All right. Which pop star burnt down her home gym with candles?
Shit.
Gotta be
So
like
I'll tell you what.
Madonna or someone.
Wait,
My-
say it again.
Which pop star burnt down her home gym with candles? My first thought was Lisa Left Eye Lopez, but then I remembered that wasn't her house. That was Andre Rison's house. Remember that?
No.
Oh,
I'm
Left
looking
Eye
at
from
Jacob
Chile,
because
like
you guys
listen,
TLC.
we're all
You
babies.
guys- yeah,
I don't
you
know what
were-
the fuck you're talking about.
No, this is probably back in like 96, 97.
She died in a car accident.
No, this was
That's
so
the
she
end
was
of things that I remember about Left Eye Lopez.
she was dating Andre Rison from the Falcons.
Okay.
And some big fight or whatever. She like burnt down his mansion.
Oh,
Oopsie.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
Oops.
Okay. So I
So
guess
this
it's
pop
not her
star burned down her home gym.
with candles.
Are we doing the same thing you like guess? Or
Yeah.
you can wait and hear
Yep.
the...
Anybody
Why
want
would
the
have candles in the gym?
I know. Well, working
Oh,
out by
I like-
candlelight, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it's
Jim would-
Very, very relaxing.
plus that vanilla smell. It's nice.
I would be much more likely to work out if that's how you presented it to me. If you're like, "Hey Jim, just come over, we're gonna light some candles,
Oh my god.
put on a little R&B
yeah,
Please
no.
do that
I
and
don't
video
see
it.
Nope, it's not even worth it for a joke.
with a little
Nope.
bump and grind."
All right, I'm waiting for multiple choice. Anybody
Me too.
want to?
Me
Got to
too.
bump and grind, baby.
I have two ideas in my
Okay.
That would have been a great name for your personal training business.
All right.
Mix, bump, and grind. Fuck.
Kim Kardashian, Lady Gaga, Zendaya, Britney Spears.
Brittany was going to be my
That's the
guess.
obvious. That's a red
Right.
herring,
Oh.
man. I feel like it's up there to get us. It's up
I'm
there to
going
get
Britney.
us. You're going
I'm
Britney.
going Brittany, bitch.
I don't know. If it was Kim Kardashian,
Kim
I
was
feel like
my
I would
other
have heard
thought,
about it.
though.
If it's
but-
Kim Kardashian, I think I know why. There is at one point there was like a Kenny G thing where I think Kanye got Kenny G basically to like play whatever that one fucking song is on his clarinet thing.
saxophone. yeah.
Saxophone, yeah. And it was like this room, and it's just like Kenny G and like a sea of candles on the floor, and it's like, I don't know.
Kim was my other thought. So
Okay.
when she was mentioned, I was
Yeah.
like,
This
but
is
I'm going
another-
Brittany.
like if Kenny G like moved his foot, it would like knock over like candles on this
boy.
floor.
That's enough convincing for me. I'm
All
going to go
right.
with Kim Kardashian.
So the question, the options are Britney, Kim.
Lady Gaga
or
or Zendaya.
But I'm not sure because I feel like that would have
I
been
feel like Zendaya's too
news.
She's too
competent
smart.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like Britney's a red herring. Kardashian, I could see it not really being true, but some bullshit publicity thing.
I'm just thinking who would have like their own gymnasium.
It's
Yeah.
Kardashian.
Like-
Yeah, I'm going to go Kardashian too.
What are you going, Slurpee?
I'll go Kim K. Sure.
It's
I
Britney
don't know.
Spears.
Mm.
Oh,
Oh.
shit. I'm fucked.
I would like to guess Britney Spears.
damn it!
Jacob wins.
So good! What's his secret?
Jacob and Whitney get it right.
Is it bad though that with the elf question afterwards, I was sitting here thinking, I'm pretty sure when we went to Iceland, we bought a little ornament for our tree that is an elf because they believe in elves. I was like, shit. I was like, I'm an idiot.
Oh, there's
It's
no
fine.
excuse. You should have had that
I
one.
know. I was like, damn it.
Wow.
I feel really good about the trivia questions today.
Fucking
Oh,
rigged.
good.
Yeah,
good.
you're welcome.
Situationships from Anonymous. Hi, I have a question that I'm hoping y'all might have some
Y'all?
good answers for, or at least make me laugh. I'm working with a therapist on issues affecting my life right now, like my relationship and anxiety and being a mom. But this particular thing isn't as pressing, so I haven't brought it up yet. I'm 30 years old now, but when I was between 18 and 20 years old, I was in what they call a situationship of sorts. Here's some definitions for situationship, and I think the Urban Dictionaries are the funniest. Number 1, let's just chill, have sex, and be confused on the fact that we are not together, but have official emotions for each other. Or, definition number 2, when one or two motherfuckers take part in a relationship, but out of fear of making things serious or messy, do not label it, leading to said relationship, ironically, becoming more serious and messier. I hope that made y'all laugh as much as me. Otherwise, feel free to just edit that out. Nope, we never do.
No.
I had a friend officially, and we did things partners might do together, go shopping together, give me his jacket with his name on it to wear, etc. And I lost my virginity to him. There's all kinds of other details my anxiety makes me get caught up in or overanalyze, but suffice to say, we stopped being close friends, seeing each other 3 to 5 times weekly, sometimes just us, and we became more regular friends, once every 2 weeks or so at a mutual friend's place.
And just butt stuff.
Just butt stuff. After the second sexual experience happened between us, I was very inexperienced, barely even kissed someone, and he was very experienced. I don't have a body count, but I would say over 10 at least. I was in love with him, but I'm pretty sure if he had romantic feelings for me, they were slim to none. This combination resulted in sexual experiences where we each had different expectations. I'm trying to talk around the actual sexual details, but I feel a lot of shame from these experiences. If you want to air the details, which is fine with me, but if you don't, stop talking now and skip this. Nope, let's do it.
Yep.
Pretty much, he wanted me to just give him a blowjob and happened to take my virginity, and both times I was not good giving him head. Things we both said after the fact also added more shame and hurt feelings to the mix. Our friendship took a dive after that. For about a year still.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, for about a year we were still friends though. And then I moved and haven't talked to him in 10 years. I think about him way more often than I should, and even though for both of us those experiences were not pleasant, I masturbate to fantasies of him, even ones where I reimagine losing my virginity to be a good experience. Most times it's the only time I can have an orgasm. I like to write short stories, and I've written a couple about him. I hate this. I hate that he still gets to me, that I still have feelings about him, that it feels like he played such a big role in my life, and I'm sure I mean nothing to him, and that I still think about him when I'm sure he doesn't think about me at all. My question is, how can I stop this madness? I sound like an obsessive ex-girlfriend from a horror movie, and I'd much rather not. Sometimes I feel like the dumbest bitch on the planet. I even think about reaching out to him and daydream about what that would be like. In typical dumb bitch fashion. Am I just a loser who will never get over this fool? I really would rather that not be the case. What does this say about me? My feelings are so strong that sometimes I still feel 19 again. Do you guys have any advice for me? Sincerely, anonymous dumb bitch. Pronouns are she and her. P.S. Thanks for the awesome podcast. I've learned a lot, laughed a lot, and gotten therapy because of y'all. And also, thanks for answering my long, rambling letter.
I want to go back to an earlier email real quick.
I think we obviously have to start with our dumb bitch.
No, first off, I just want to the listeners know that I have the letter in front of me. Her name's Becca. Jim said anonymous dumb bitch.
Jim.
He added that on his own. That's not in the letter.
That's not in the letter? That's what's on my page?
Messed up, Jim.
Wait, no,
That's
you're fucking with
really
me.
Yeah, I'm
messed
fucking
up.
with you.
Okay, thank God. Jesus. I'm like, oh my God, terrified. Did you send me a different letter, you son of a bitch? That's pretty fucked up.
That's awesome.
Her name's Becca, Jim. You're an asshole.
Just sign it at the bottom.
Okay.
Jim, you're a
signature
dumbass.
is Becca, respectable lady.
Yeah. Yeah, Your Honor. All right.
To the person who wrote earlier about worrying about whether different opinions can end friendships, if someone can tell someone else that they gave a shitty first blowjob to them,
you can,
and then they
take
remain friends for a year afterwards, there's hope for everyone.
Yeah.
Solid point.
So, all right. Whitney, obviously, we have to come to you on this. Let's talk about your first
Jesus.
blowjob.
Did you say-
and let's
did you
talk
say
about how often you think
Sexist,
about
very
it.
sexist.
Was that a clean
No,
drop?
we just talked about Whitney's first blowjob. That
Did you say
seems to
come
be
to her?
relevant to this. I don't know where to go with this.
Yeah, why don't you just set the next few plays
man.
out?
I'm just going to sit here and drink a beer.
I know.
Leave Becca alone.
I love that we're just calling her Becca.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. It definitely. She called herself dumb bitch. It was a joke.
I don't see that at all.
I know. I definitely know you meant it as a joke, but man, it hurt my heart to hear you call yourself a dumb bitch. I'm
Right,
like,
right.
oh, because I feel like when we joke about some stuff like that, it's like partial truth there. And it probably does feel silly to be like, what is wrong with me? Why am I thinking
Right.
about this person 10 years later? But the reality is sometimes we don't have closure from especially such a big experience. You lost your virginity to
Right.
them.
Yes.
He criticized your blowjob skills. Like, what the
Right.
fuck?
And possibly the first sex too.
Yeah.
It sounds like there might have been like criticism of that as well.
I know. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. I don't like any of that. And that
I
would
just make
stick.
it a practice not to criticize people who have sex with me in any way.
Right.
Just
Jacob's
say
like,
thank you and
I'm
move
just glad
on.
to be there.
I'm just happy to be in the game. Yeah.
I mean, I fill out a comment card, but I just put that in the box on the
That's
way out.
anonymous. That's anonymous for later.
3.5 stars. We'll come back.
So yeah.
Service exciting.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic.
Yeah, service with a smile.
Surprising. So gosh, I want to just acknowledge that it probably feels you feel like a dumb bitch, but it doesn't mean you are. And it sounds like a closure thing is what I hear. I mean, it's like we've talked about before on here when you have like an embarrassing moment and you replay it over and over in your head again.
Yeah.
And it's hard to let go of that. And you're like, I guess in this case, you're saying you acknowledge he's probably not thinking about it. But in our minds, we're like, gosh, if I could just go back and change that one thing, then maybe that would change other things. Like,
Right.
what if I did give a good blowjob according to him? Because that doesn't mean that was accurate. But like, according to him, what if I did that better? Then would we have remained friends or stayed in touch, or would we be dating, or what would that even
Right.
mean? And so I think our thoughts can kind of spiral sometimes into other thoughts. And so I think trying to find closure with this, which is interesting because you kind of touched on some things that were like, oh, I've written stories about him, like even changing the scenario to be maybe more fulfilling for you, which I thought was interesting. I mean, have you ever had a client?
It's interesting because that's very similar to a technique.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what do you think about
re-narrating
that,
trauma,
Jim?
like-
Because I'm like, that would be helpful.
It's kind of reclaiming power.
Yeah.
But in this case, it does seem like probably more in the vein of like, this is me writing erotic fiction.
Yeah.
And yes, reclaiming it, but making the memory
Almost like
more fulfilling to
fantasizing.
myself.
Yeah.
Which, I get that too.
Yeah.
And I think it's therapeutic. And obviously for this person, they're very critical of themselves because they're like, oh, I'm so dumb for doing that. And I think we hear that and go, no, A, it's very normal. And B,
Yeah.
it's actually kind of like healthy for you to re-narrate that story.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if this is like generalizing too much, but I mean, like, I haven't forgotten the first time I had sex. Like, that's not something you just forget about or that you're going to not think about. And especially if it's such a strong kind of negative experience. So,
Right.
so I
Also
want to
the
normalize
dynamic.
that a little bit.
Right. The
like-
dynamic of like your boyfriend friend thing
Yeah.
is very experienced.
Yeah.
And you kind of start having this kind of like, okay, here we go, intimate connection thing. And I think the writer said, I kind of just thought we were going to fool around
Yeah.
and kind of like just do some oral stuff. It turned out to be sex.
Yeah.
And like there were 2 episodes, and after the second episode, our connection very quickly sort of dwindled out. And that's what I think is really tricky about this, because I don't want to like vilify, the friend. I mean,
Yeah.
but clearly there was a differential in experience,
Yeah.
a differential in what each person's looking for.
Like understanding.
Right. If you've never had a sexual experience, your first one is the best sexual experience you've ever had. And you're like, wow, that was fascinating. Like so many notes.
Yeah.
And the other person's like, okay, yeah, I did that 10 times ago, and so like,
Yeah.
that's not super fun. And then they revisit this like, okay, maybe we can like move in a new direction, and maybe they're being more aggressive or like trying to move you along. And you're kind of like, okay, this is still, I'm uncertain. I'm having all sorts of powerful feelings about this. And that can be interesting for both of you, right? Like the more experienced person can feel like, I feel a little uncomfortable. Like, maybe I'm pushing you and I don't want to do that. And so like, maybe they're starting to pull away from the relationship a little bit too afterward. Like Let's just be friends. And yeah, sex complicates relationships, man. It ruins them a lot. You fuck and then you start a podcast, right, Nick?
Is that how y'all started this podcast?
Well, we worked together first.
Right. Yeah, let's not forget that.
Yeah.
No power dynamic.
Yeah.
No. Equals. Not in bed, though.
Oh, not equals. Definitely not.
No. No, the closure thing, I mean, I kind of went down a rabbit hole in my own mind of where you could go with that. But the closure aspect to me seems like that might be a helpful way to go. So, like, I had an experience once with someone in high school, and it stuck with me for a long time. And years later, they reached out to me on LinkedIn. Good old LinkedIn. Had to throw that in there for comedic relief.
Websites.
Yes.
No, but that's why they didn't reach out to like reconnect like that. They were kind of like chatty and like surface level. But all I'm thinking of is this experience that was had. And so I'm like, okay. So as we go through, he ends up mentioning that a child he had died and that it totally changed this trajectory in his life. And he started thinking about kind of like substance abuse, all these things that he had done wrong, like in his past.
He's making amends.
And he was making amends. He was like, hey, can I call you? And so we talked on the phone, hadn't talked to him since high school. And this was probably like 5 years ago or something. He calls me and he's like, I have this one scenario that I recall, and I am so sorry for the things that I did. And I cannot tell you, there were times that replayed in my head before, and I'm not kidding. Like after that, barely thought of it since then. Like that's probably the second time.
Interesting.
The closure worked.
Closure was very helpful for me, which I did not expect. I was just like, oh my God, that was amazing. Like as a therapist, I was like, that is incredible for especially man. We've been talking about like masculine stuff, but to come back and just own something they did that I don't think they were being malicious in this incident.
Right, but
it was
young.
a teenage boy, like whatever. But it stuck with me. And so after that, it was like very clearing and freeing. So I almost want to challenge this writer. If we can't control what other people do, I don't think you should reach out to this person and try and do that. When I say closure, I don't know that that would be helpful. But you mentioned writing these stories, and I almost wonder if you could kind of write a version that gives you closure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, one
Kind of
note that I would add on top of that too, and this is tricky, and again, you mentioned that you're in therapy. So take our suggestions back to your therapist and let them give you feedback on, because they know the case and they know the intimate details of what's really going to be helpful. We know 200 words, that you wrote. So please always take it back to the professional, let them give you guidance. But another way that we can do that too, and I've seen some people do this, in this quest for closure, especially when we can't contact the other person for whatever reasons, or they're untrustworthy, whatever the barrier. Another thing you can do in therapy is the Gestalt open chair technique, where you can speak either to the chair or to the therapist. And as a male therapist, I have played this role for a lot of people, women and men, that had a male in their life that harmed them in one way or another. And we did a lot of prep work to prepare them to say what they needed to say and go through the experience.
Yeah.
And I sat in that role for them. I have nothing to say. I am there to receive, but I sort of wear a metaphorical mask. And this person says, they call me by the name of whoever did this to them. And they say, here's what this was like for me. Here's how I felt afterward.
Yeah.
And in this case, the writer would probably say things like, I think about you all the time.
Yeah.
But I also have to remind myself that we were children. We were very young, or young adults.
Yeah.
And that, of course, you're a very special person to me. And in so many ways, I'm glad my first time was different than a lot of my friends' first time with a stranger they never knew. But in so many other ways, it left me feeling very different. And, I long for you. I also resent you. Or whatever those truths are.
Whatever
which, again,
your truth is.
under the guidance of your therapist.
Absolutely.
With their support, if they might throw this idea out and be like, nope, that podcast is stupid. Don't do that. Always defer to the professional. But that could be a path towards some closure without necessarily having to contact a person. But closure would be huge here to start laying this behind us.
It's interesting because I have a completely different perspective than what you guys thought of. And I'm going to do my best to verbalize this, but I don't even know if I can really verbalize it.
Act it out.
Well.
Interpretive dance. Move those hips.
Jacob, music.
So I brought these dolls with me.
Wow, that's what those were for. Okay.
No, my idea was like, so I guess to kind of paraphrase what I'm kind of hearing the writer say, if I were to just, and if I'm completely off on this, I'm off on this, I apologize. Maybe I wasn't listening. But it almost kind of sounds like I have these feelings, these things meant something to me, but I know they didn't mean anything to him. Therefore, I'm struggling accepting this.
Okay.
And so my thought kind of goes to, and this isn't just to the writer, but to all of us, why does the meaning that something has for us, why does it also have to mean that same thing for somebody else? Like why does it, even if it meant a lot to him or if it meant nothing to him, why is that relevant to the meaning that we give it?
Okay.
In the sense that, so like I'm looking at it from almost kind of like a cognitive reframing perspective. Like maybe we can kind of change kind of your perspective towards some of these things. Like you enjoyed it, or you maybe not enjoyed it. I don't know the experience, but like these things that you obviously got something out of because you're still thinking about it. You fantasize about it. It meant something to you. Period. End of sentence.
Right.
I think that's valuable, and I don't think you should feel bad about that.
Right.
I think that's wonderful. This meant something to you. I wouldn't let the meaning he gives it influence the meaning that you give it. It can still mean something even if it doesn't mean something to him. If Jim gives me a gift because it's something that he just saw on the side of the road and he just gave it to me and it doesn't mean anything to him, it still means something to me.
Right.
And so I guess that, I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just kind of like,
It does.
Yeah.
And it piggybacks on what Whitney was just saying too, is it means something to you, and that is perfectly reasonable. It's perfectly fine that means something to you. It doesn't have to mean anything to anyone else, and you can't expect it necessarily to mean anything to anyone else. Like what Whitney was saying, it's not, maybe not the best idea to go to that person for that closure because you can't expect that person to have the same feelings that you have about the situation.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, the clear move here is to find this person, preferably on LinkedIn.
That's
and then
the preferred route.
That's the way. That's the number
Worked
one way
for
of
me.
closure. Yeah.
I need to get back on LinkedIn.
Get on
Yeah,
LinkedIn,
I know, right?
see
You're
who you
missing
can
out on a
reconnect with.
lot.
I think the big thing is like to take a non-judgmental attitude towards this. I feel like you're being very judgmental towards yourself
Yes.
for things that are normal.
That's
Perfectly
true.
normal.
Yes.
And I don't think you have anything to be judgmental about yourself for.
No, we all flash back to early life relationships. It's where we tried on big emotions for the first time. It's where we accessed new parts of life and adulthood and ourselves with another person. You don't forget that. And yes, those emotional memories stay with you. I think it's very natural for all of us to look back on those times. And I think for you, writer, you have a mix of, positives and negatives about that. In some ways, grateful it was with a person that I knew and it wasn't a one-night stand. In other ways, very complicated feelings toward that person because I didn't hate them. They weren't a stranger. They existed. I bonded to them. I wanted more with them. I thought we could have more, and it didn't materialize. So,
Also, if someone criticizes you sexually after you have sex with them,
Fuck them. I mean, don't.
well,
Fine.
don't.
I'm like,
Don't.
Do that again. It's a
I
bad
think it's
idea.
fine to hit them at that point. I think you just strike someone at that point. I think that's okay.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's also a move.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Like,
other
I think
move,
you get to punch them.
look this guy up, seduce him, and then leave him.
The long
That's
game.
the trick. Yeah, you want to play the
Yeah.
long game. You want to get in his head.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you
I
get
like
him
Jim's
begging
idea.
for it. You get him
I'm on
begging
Jim's
for it,
side
and then
for
you
this.
go, you know what? You're bad at blowjobs. And then you leave. And then
Yeah.
later your friend explains that that's not how that line should have been delivered, but he gets it.
It's still satisfying.
gets
Now
it.
that's your
Yeah.
new memory.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a dumb bitch. What?
My
Bye.
name's Becca.
Yeah. It's Miss Becca to you. We are at the end of the show, and as we wrap up, we want to remind you that you can go to patreon.com/therapy, and you can get the extended show ad-free a day earlier and enjoy our live chat Discord community. Slurpie, you're a big fan of the Discord?
Yeah.
You can talk to Slurpie in there.
Yeah.
What's your Discord name?
Right now for Thanksgiving is we all change our Or
We all don't. You do. Mine's still just Jim.
He's a trendsetter.
He's a
all right?
I barely know how to open Discord.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
certainly
yeah.
don't know how to change my name.
Nobody at this table
I
fucking
was
does
thinking,
it.
I was like, you can change your name.
Yeah. The tech guy knows how to do it.
Yeah.
I don't. Sometimes Manu changes mine, and I'm like, how did you do that? What is your new name?
Okay, first off, I didn't start that. Don't
Yeah.
don't start playing
Okay.
more. Okay, now right now for Thanksgiving, it's turkey pie, yam, muth, turducken. Yeah,
There you go.
and I can go through the other ones.
Go
Ooh,
for
let's
it.
hear it.
So for Halloween, it was spooky die slay motherfucker.
Oh, that was a good one.
And then
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving, it's Santa fly slay motherfucker.
Do you have a sheet where you're just auditioning ideas?
I'll
Like you've got
decide.
your trial and error
Jot it
in these
down.
things. It just snaps to you right there.
We should have
One
come
shot.
to you when we were naming a podcast.
That
Yeah.
probably would have been good.
Yeah.
I mean, probably could have taken a survey on it.
Do you want to help with the song?
We could just, how dare
Can
you?
you write music?
No. It stays forever.
He seems talented, that's all I'm saying.
Patreon.com/therapy.
Exactly.
You get access to the Discord community and those weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants every Monday to start your week in the therapy way. And as we record this one, we've got some new folks to welcome on board. Who are the new Therapals, Nick? 2
New Therapals. Welcome, Grace and Alex Bernal.
Welcome, friends. And we've got some new Therapods, Danny and Masa.
That's one
I was
person.
going to say, it looks like one.
Nope.
Good job, though.
Danny Masa.
I believe it's pronounced Becca.
Yes. New Pterodactyls, Nick.
L. Katie Mo.
K-Timo.
K-Timo.
K-Timo? K-Timo?
El Catimo.
It
I'm
feels-
guessing it's L. Katie Mo.
whatever. And we want to thank our Ther partners, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Ther producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Mrs. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, who whooped my ass in fantasy this week. It's ridiculous. Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slap in Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy,
Slurpie, motherfucker.
Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, and Hannah Marie.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited
And why wouldn't you?
I know. I always want to say it too. I'm
and
like,
enjoy our
I
spontaneous
told
side
you you could
projects,
have it.
I know,
You just have
no.
to do it.
go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank our special guest, Slurpie Kaye, motherfucker, and thanks to all of you who contribute to our show. We do appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode, tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram and the other one, and /Pod Therapy, right, on Facebook.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick.
I'm Scar.
I'm Whitney.
Thanks.
Slurpie, motherfucker.
Yeah.
See you for your appointment next week.
Be
That doesn't
prepared.
sound like the whole song.
That is the whole song. For what? For the death of the king.
Still doesn't sound like the
Why
whole
is he
song.
sick? No, fool, we're gonna kill him. And Simba too. Great idea. Who needs a king? No king, no king. La 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 la. Ah, but there will be a king. But you said stick with me, and you'll never go
trivia?
hungry again. Yay! All right. Long live the king. Long live the king.
See, he's leaving now.
Oh, you scared
He's
him away.
leaving.
All right, Jim.
Uh,
What's the first line of the song? Mister, I can sing the whole song. What's the first line of the song?
I never thought hyenas essential.
That's it. That's it.